What is up, everybody? This is Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm joined by Greg Harrelson. We've got Danny Morel with us. This is going to be a really phenomenal episode. We're going to jump right in. Greg, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing really well. And, I often open up and say, gosh, I'm so excited to have, our guest on. But in this particular case, this is a good friend of mine, Danny. He is fired up every minute I've ever known him. He's been fired up, excited, just full of life. So I'm just really excited to see what comes out of today.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. So, Danny,
Yeah.
for those that don't know you, obviously you host your own podcast. You're out here in California with Intero, but just give people a sense of not just who you are, but what does your daily life look like? What are you doing on a daily basis for Intero?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm in the middle of transitioning both mentally, spiritually into a new phase of our company and really transitioning into the role of president of the company, bringing some key leaders on board to help shape the company and the future of the company. So my day-to-day position here with our company is essentially making sure that our agents are growing and our agents are increasing their production, and they're doing it hopefully in less overall output, less overall time worked. So
Okay.
that is essentially my main focus and my main purpose here.
Interesting. So, just quick curiosity question: How long have you been in leadership versus an active agent?
Yeah, so it's going to be 6 years since we started the company. At the beginning, I was the number one salesperson at our company because that's what you kind of have to do. I was the
Okay.
number one salesperson. I was the accountant. I was the bookkeeper. I was the janitor. I was the marketing specialist. I did everything, right?
Yeah.
And then, I remember the day where I think it was like about a year and 2 months into the development of the organization. I thought, I think it's time, and I think it's time to kind of, step into just fully coaching these guys and helping them grow.
Yeah.
And that's when things started to take off.
Very cool. Yeah, so we've got a lot to cover on leadership and recruiting, and especially how those two tie in together. Those are really linked inextricably. But let's talk about gaining massive attention. So you've done some really interesting things, and this is why we wanted to have you on the show. First of all, was to talk about the events that you're running and some of the big names that you've had in. So you've had some big names, you've got a big name coming up. So share a little bit about that and how that ties into the recruiting strategy.
It's funny. I know people don't believe me when I say this. I do things typically for one purpose, and that is to help people to grow. And so last year, here's what happened. Our company, we've always had pretty good events. And this time I just wanted to kind of take it up a notch, right? And so I decided to go out and find a great speaker. We happened to be reading a book called Relentless at the time. And I noticed the author, Tim Grover, and the thought just popped in my head. And I said, well, imagine if I could get Tim Grover to come and like speak to our agents. So, I give them a call. I find out, what the cost is, so forth and so on. And I think, yeah, that'll be worth it. I'm in, right? And somebody happened to make a post that Tim Grover was coming. And then people started asking us, hey, well, how do we come? And I thought, well, shoot, what if we just open it up to the public? And that's how it happened. And in true Danny Morel fashion, right, you can't go backwards in life. So this year I thought, I got to step it up a notch. Who could I get? And I thought, what if we can get Grant Cardone to come out? I think that'd be fantastic, right? And sure enough, I made the phone call, find out what his fee was, dropped, had a heart attack. And then when I kind of revived myself a little bit, I thought, what? I'm always talking about cost versus value. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull this off. And so yeah, we got Grant Cardone coming and Greg Harrelson coming, a bunch of other great real estate pros. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this,
Danny,
it's really cool.
Yeah, let me kind of chime in here if I can. And so I've been following these events, right? And obviously you're creating a ton of buzz. But let's go backwards a little bit, okay? 6 years ago you were the accountant, the real estate agent, listing, buying buyer, side agent, and everything else. Even janitor, you said. That's a good one. I'll probably remember that one when we're kind of hanging out together later on.
Yeah.
But you're making this transition, and I saw a chart within the last week or maybe the last month about the growth of your company. and it was extraordinary. I can't remember. It almost seems like it might have been like 5 or 6 years back. And it was a chart where it's like, this is where you were, and then this is where you were. Can you tell us a little bit about your trajectory over the last few years? And then I want to kind of dive back into, like, how in the heck are you doing this? Because we know whether or not, we know team building, expansion, those are big terms, right, in our industry right now. And what it all boils down to is a lot of real estate agents are really out there trying to be entrepreneurs and build a business. Whether they call it expansion, whether they call it a team, it's a business. And that's what you've done, and you've done it in an extraordinary way. So tell us about the trajectory, and then kind of share with us, what did you do at different points to keep that momentum?
Yeah, that's great questions, and I got a bunch of answers, so be patient with me. So
that's what we want.
Yeah, I've got that chart here. 2011, 110 units. 2012, 284. 2013, 629 units. 2014, 955. 2015, 1,645 units. 2016, 2,730 units. And next year we'll be right at 4,000 units, right between 3,700 and 4,000 units. So the interesting thing, Greg, is 2015 we were an Inc. 500 company. Which that's like really, really, I was really proud of that. 2016, believe it or not, I hate bringing this up, but we made it, but because of a clerical error, we forgot to send one document. They didn't recognize us, but I just sent in the documentation for Inc. 500, and we're definitely going to make it this year because the growth, man, I don't want to share too much information, but the growth has been pretty staggering. It really has been pretty staggering.
Like 40 to 40%, 45%, something like that.
It's been year on year, year over year. Yeah. And so, Greg, when you ask me, what's up? How did this happen? Well, step number one, I didn't skip any steps as a real estate sales professional. And what I mean by that was, you see, what real estate agents fail to understand. Everybody wants to be a business owner, and yet no one wants to go through the steps of first becoming a great real estate sales professional. Because the reality is becoming a great business owner in the real estate industry, you got to have value that you can offer people, and in our industry, different companies compete off of different things. Some compete on cost and commissions, and others compete on brand, right? And Greg, I remember thinking, this is honest to God truth, I remember thinking, I'm not going to compete on any of that stuff. Not that I just don't happen to believe in that, but I don't have a nationally recognized brand backing me. I'm sure as heck not going to do this 100% stuff. I said, I'm going to compete solely on value. I'm going to draw a line in the sand, and I'm just going to go declare that here in Southern California, there is nowhere, it doesn't exist, it's not even close, nowhere where a real estate agent can come and truly grow at the levels that we can help them grow at. And so now, here comes my second point. That required an immense amount of work on my part and on the part of our leaders. You can't have the audacity to say things like that and then not be able to lead the way and not show that you were a great salesperson, not show that that you can actually do the job that you're asking others to do. And I really see that right now, especially being that we're at the kind of like the peak of the market. Egos are flaring like crazy right now, and you see people here in Southern California specifically, it's a little bit of a different animal. Here in Southern California, people doing 8 deals a year, 9 deals a year, 10 deals a year, 20 deals a year, 30 deals a year, saying, I know what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go open up an office. And, to each their own. God bless everybody. But in about a year, people are going to start finding out, wait a minute, there's this thing called the law of the lid that John Maxwell speaks about. And it's very tough for you to try to convince someone that wants to do 75, 80, or 100 deals a year that you can help them if you're down here doing 9 or 10.
Mhm.
And so what'll happen is that you can only bring onto your organization, because of the law of the lid, you can only bring into your organization people who have produced lower than you have produced.
Hmm.
Unless, and I'll use the word, you decide to go prostitute yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what that means. What that means is you say, okay, let me go hook up with a brand, because this happens here locally as well, and I'm sure it does everywhere. Let me go hook up with a national brand, and here's what I'll do. Instead of offering people fair commissions, I'll give everybody 100%. I'll give them a signing bonus of $2,000. I'll give people selling 5 homes a year a private office with a view, and that'll do it. And sure enough, guess what will happen? A whole bunch of people will join the company, but that will only last so long. At the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, there is an undeniable truth, is that leadership comes from you proving to the world, first and foremost, that you are the real deal, that you can make it happen, and that as a result of that, that you have the confidence to show others that they can make it happen as well. And so if you ask me, Greg, what the hell's going on and why is the growth? It's because of that. I have supreme confidence in the fact that I did the damn thing. I role played
Yeah.
every single day for 3 years in a row. I can handle any objection. Nobody can stop me on anything, listing presentation, buyer presentation. It's just, and this is why I love hanging with you, Greg, because you're the same way. You're doing the same thing out in your marketplace. So I'm sure you can relate to, some of the things that I've just shared.
I agree with everything you said, and what's interesting is that what you're saying is you've walked the walk, so you can
Right.
talk the talk, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many people. What's interesting in a inclining market, when the market gets hotter and hotter and hotter, you don't have to walk the walk in order
Right.
to convince a few people to come join you and hang with you. Well, you can talk the talk
Right.
in a hot market, but you have to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk when the market actually dips. So there's where you're saying it. What I'm hearing you say is, whether it's a year or whether it's 2 years, we are kind of, this could be debatable, but we've had a really good run lately, and and it's more likely that we're going to see a dip versus go. Keep climbing forever. And
Right.
whenever we do see that dip, that's where, and I had a great coach in the past, Tony DeCello, and he said to me, he said this, he goes, look, what you gain in a down market, you don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
And what you give up in a hot market, you never give back away. You never get back again. In other words, true professionals gain market share in the down market. And those guys and girls or gals are the ones who have walked the walk, and they're the ones that can really attract a team that'll take bullets for them. And I think that's what's critical is you and I, we're proud to be at the ground level. We're proud to have the shovel in our hands and go with all of our teammates and our agents and see if we can out dig the ditch. Let's see if I can dig it faster and further than you can. And you know what? And we hope that they beat us.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the willingness to get in there and play the game with them that I think is one of the things that you do so well in the area of leadership.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so listen, so okay, so now let's take it to teams, which
Okay.
I love teams. I had a team, but my team was producing 150 deals a year with 3 of us. Like nowadays you have teams that are producing 40 deals a year with 18 people. And it just doesn't make any, and why does that happen? It's simple. It happens because there is not a focus on listing-based business. And why isn't there a focus on listing-based business? Because people haven't put in the work. Look, there's no way around it. You can't be stumbling or mumbling or fumbling when it comes to selling. And the only way to do that is you need a good 3 to 5 years of work, people. Honest to God, hard work where you're learning the game, right? And when you're taking your bumps and bruises. I tell my people all the time, it's like a boxing match, right? A boxing match, what's going to happen? Mayweather, he's going to throw a little jab at you, right? And so what's a jab? A jab is nothing more than it's a freaking jab. That's all it is. It's a jab, right? But in real estate, what do we consider a jab? A jab is an objection, right? So people get a jab and they're just like, they're out for the count because they don't know how to handle the freaking jab. And how do you handle a jab? It's very simple. You just move. That's it. Oh, I can appreciate that. So what I hear you saying is yada, yada, yada. So tell me, bam, back to the question. You see, but you got to be able to do that time and time again in real life, whether it's in front of somebody's face, whether it's on the phone. And that's the thing that I really don't see people making enough of an effort to learn how to do.
Yeah, Gary Vee calls it. I was listening to some Gary Vee stuff, and I'm constantly listening to him, and he talks about getting dirty. It's like you got to get dirty, and getting dirty. What he's talking about is you got to work hard. If you'll, for the like, and who hopefully this is taken, the right way, and people say, I'm going to take what Danny and Greg are talking about, and I'm going to do something about it. If you are listening to this and you're a new agent, if you're a new agent in the last 3 or 4 years, and you really haven't taken off, or if you're thinking about getting into the business or just getting into the business right now, let me tell you how you can crush this business. You come into this business right now, you actually learn the foundation of our business, which is how to prospect, how to generate listings. You grind out high numbers of contacts right now. You fail so much. Like you got to look stupid. You got to sound stupid. You got to get caught like in a vulnerable position where you have no clue what to say. They're going to hang up on you. And every time you fail, you're going to fail forward, and you're going to learn and learn and learn. And then let me tell you what's going to happen. At some point in the next 2 to 3 years, you've gotten so good because you've grinded and you worked so hard, then the market shifts. And when the market shifts, you see who's swimming naked. In other words, you're going to be the one that has the skills to take market share in a declining market. And the ones that are actually just playing the game and buying leads right now, then they're going to have a challenge. And there will be a time where there will be a redistribution of the wealth in the real estate industry. And the wealth will actually transfer from those who are buying business to those who are creating business. And in order to be one of those that know how to create it, you got to grind, you got to get dirty. And I know you and I have been pretty much cut from the same cloth. Mike Ferry has been our mentor. He's our coach. And, and that's one of the things we've been blessed with, is that we were forced to actually get dirty in the beginning of our careers.
But you see, let's talk about that for a second. And by the way, guys, look, everything I say, I'm obviously, and everything Greg says, we're obviously very opinionated about our beliefs. But guess what? We earned the damn right to be opinionated, because no one can prove us different. And you see, at some point in time, I think about this all the time, because I think about myself as a young real estate sales professional. True story. I got into the business because I wanted to buy my mother a house. And I was 19 years old at the time. And I walk up to this guy and I said, hey, so tell me, is there any money in real estate? He says, yeah. And I go, I'll tell you what, I'm working 5 days a week right now, and I'm going to school. I'm working on Saturdays at a bodybuilding store. I have 1 day off. That's Sunday. I said, I'll tell you what, I want to work for you on Sundays. He says, okay, great. Well, here's the pay structure. I said, no. Don't pay me anything. Don't pay me a thing. Just teach me. Just teach me. Okay. Because I knew in my head that knowledge is way more valuable to me than any one check that I can get. Right. Okay. Fast forward. I go and I join the biggest team in the area. See, people don't do this nowadays. They go look for the highest split. They go look for the biggest office. That's called stupid. That's what that is called. Okay. I did the opposite, right? I did the opposite. I went and I found the best team. There was a guy that had billboards all over the place, right? I found that team, and I walked and I said, hey, I'm going to come. I'm already doing pretty good. I'm doing about, 30, 40 deals a year. I want to take it to the next level. I want to learn from you. He says, oh gosh, well, I was on a 99% split because my ego was so big after 1 year that my broker gave me my own little office. That stupid. That was my part, stupid. I looked around after a year and I started realizing, there's like 10 of us in here, and I'm the only one doing anything, and I got to pay all these bills. This doesn't make sense. I'm closing this thing down. So I closed it down, right? And so I go and I go to this team, and I'm on a 99% split, whatever. I just paid him like $200 a file, and the team leader goes to me. He says, hey, here's the problem. I only pay 65%. I said, that doesn't matter to me. He says, I'm in. I'm in. I says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be the number one producer in your office within the next 6 months. Just pay me what you want. And why? Because the value in the knowledge was
Yes.
way more important to me than a little 20% bump or whatever the case may be. And that's where people are missing everything. And I'll tell you why they're missing it, because they don't have long-term vision.
Yeah, that's
See,
true.
if you have long-term vision, if there's a long-term game, if you want to put a dent in the universe, like Steve Jobs used to say, if you want to put a dent in this industry, you're not going to make it by yourself. You got to go find powerful people like Greg and align yourself with him. Doesn't matter the cause, doesn't matter any of that stuff, because what you will learn is way, way more valuable than a certain bump. So I can guarantee you there's nobody on planet Earth that was around the game back then when I was, that decided to go get a little 20% more, that is doing what I'm doing today. It's impossible, because
Yeah.
the mindset for learning wasn't there. And so what I would recommend all your listeners to do is to really, really just humble yourselves and just ask yourselves, okay, could I not fumble or mumble on a live call? Could I go out and present at the highest level possible? And if not, what the hell am I waiting for? I need some help, and I need it now.
Hmm.
And the same way, Greg, you and I humble ourselves and we have coaching, is the same way that, people need to do the same thing, but they don't want to
How
hear
long
that.
have you been? How long have you been in coaching?
I've been in
How long have you had
coaching.
a coach?
Yeah, this is true story. Blah, blah, blah. I got in 19, 22, by 22, since the age of 22, I've been paying for a coach, because at the
Yeah.
time, I'm all about hard work. I was working 7 days a week, but I was only working with buyers. And I figured out, eventually I'm going to get married. This isn't going to work for too long. I need to figure this out. And that's where I first met Mike Ferry.
Yeah.
And during that transition, I went from about 45 deals a year up to 150 within a matter of 40 years or so, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be.
It's just
But
it's something that I find that's common, is that so you've been in coaching from the beginning of your career, and you're still in coaching. And that's the same thing with me. I think I was started with Mike maybe 18 to 19 years ago, and I have never, in the last 18 or 19 years, I have never been outside of the Mike Ferry Coaching Company. Never skipped one payment in 19 years. Thanks, Mike. I know that you're happy about that too. But you know what? I feel like I'm the one that got the deal. And it's
yeah,
because it was all about building this. If I'm going to turn around and develop talent, which is what I like to do. I like to develop talent. I like to bring agents in and help them build the business that they want to build. Not
yeah,
not the one I want to build. I want to find out, what do they want to do, and I want to help them get there. But who am I to be able to tell them that they need to follow their coach if I'm not even following my coach?
yeah, absolutely. And Greg, I'm going to tell you something that I don't speak about too much, but I'll go ahead and talk about it here. One of my greatest gifts, and yet one of my greatest downfalls, is that I believe I can do anything. So I want you to think about that, because I literally believe I can do anything. And so when that happens, you have to learn to tame those thoughts, because if not, next thing you know, you're off to something different, right? True story. This was about 2 or 3 years. This was about 3 or 4 years before the recession. Another coach, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, came, tapped me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, I'd like you to come join our coaching company and, join with us. And I'll tell you what, I'll throw this in. I'll let you be a coach." I'm 26,
Yeah.
27, whatever. Me? A coach? Oh, yeah, I'll go with you right away. Right? It's a lot like, "Hey, I'd like you to come to our company. I'll throw in an extra 10%. Or I'll make movies of you." And what do agents do? What? Me? For real? Okay, yeah, I'll go. Right? True story. I left MFO. My business dropped, Greg, and I think it dropped just by pure osmosis. No, I really do. I literally lost the desire. It just, you get in this funk when you're not around the right type of mindset, the right type of energy. but my business dropped by about 30% or so. And it was the beginning of the end for me during that time period. So
Wow.
just two different perspectives here.
Yeah. So where are you going? Where are you going? I mean, how many, I know it's so easy to speak on recruiting. How many people do you want to recruit? But that's such a cold way to actually talk about people and talk about, people that, that you're going to help build, but I mean, for the lack of a better term, how many people are you really wanting to bring on to the company to put into your ecosystem? Because I know what you're going to do with them when you get them is you're going to inspire them, you're going to lead them, you're going to train them and coach them and help them build careers like I focus on. But kind of where are you going now? Like what's on the horizon for 2017? What is your goals?
So we bring about a person a day into the organization right now. As a matter of fact, right now it's a little bit over because we are at the 1st of March, and I can actually get you the exact number, but I think we've brought 68 people into the organization so far this year. So something like that. To us, that is normal. But again, where did that normal come from? Because succeeding at a high level as an agent was normal.
Yeah.
You see.
So you prospected every day, right? For listings or buyers or whatever. So you're doing the same thing that you did then.
Right. But with this rocket fuel of knowledge, expertise, and ability to guide and help people like nobody's business because I put in the work, right?
Yeah.
So where are we going, Greg? Look, I'm a highly competitive person. And I at first it was.
I for one am shocked, Greg. I'm reeling over here.
Oh, you should see when him and I start. I mean, we're already been texting today with a couple with Jeff Clinton, Ty, and Joe D about setting up some 90-day accountability, and it's going to be crazy. I know that's how it works with us.
Yeah. So for me, Greg, first it was. I'll tell you what it was first, and this is a little tip for all of your listeners. You got to have little like targets and goals that really inspire you. So for me, I'm not speaking bad about any brand, but there was a KW office down the street when I first opened our office. And that KW office had, I think, 180 they had like 350 agents or something like that. And they were producing X. And I told myself, we're going to produce that with 70 agents. So that was like, that was the first goal, right? And then the second goal became, okay, well, now we want to become, by the way, Rockstar Anthony Morel just walked by, just so you know. Yeah. That's the future of real estate right there. Yeah, it's Greg Harrelson. I'm on his podcast. Here.
What's up, Greg? Oh, no.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
So then it became, we really want to be number one in Rancho Cucamonga, which was our first city. And then our second office, Downey, we were like, man, we want you guys to be number one. So our goal is in every marketplace that we are in is to be number one in that marketplace within 3 years, because we've already proven that the first two offices that we started have done that. There's no reason why any of the other offices can do that, shouldn't be able to do that. So right now then last year I started thinking, about 2 years ago, I started thinking number one in the MLS, number one in the MLS, number one in the MLS. And the year is still young, but as of right now, we're number one in the MLS. And now what we really got our sights set on is number one, top 20 in the state of California, and then top 10 in the state of California. So realistically, I would say 2016 we'll end up with about 650 agents in our organization, which will put us within striking distance of 2018. Ending the year at 850, 900 agents or so. And that'll make us, in terms of Southern California, there really won't be anybody, that big.
That's awesome. I wanted to just make an observation real quick is, he started talking a moment ago, and he's talking about doing the things now that he used to do before. Like, he made phone calls to get listings before. And when he wanted to grow his real estate business, and now he wants to grow the company. So what is he doing? He's doing the same exact thing. It's just the the person who picks up the phone on the other end is a different person. It's not a seller. It's somebody that might have potential that he thinks he can lead to a whole nother level. But, so he's doing the same things. But here's my observation. Look where he's sitting right now. Do you see him in this real nice, fancy office? Or do you see him? I know what that is. Those are cubby holes.
Yeah.
These are he's right in the middle of the people who are grinding every day and making it happen for themselves and out there. So while he's grinding today to build the company, he's doing it right beside the people who are grinding today to build their own company. I think that's
Absolutely.
very important for leaders to understand. That I think a lot of times, and I've always taken pride in that myself, is I have a private office that I probably spend no more than 2 hours in per month. If you put a stopwatch on me, I probably do not spend more than 2 hours in my private office. I'm always in there with the people. And I think that's one of the things that I just wanted to observe for those that are watching this. You need to understand that is another strength that he has as a leader.
And it's funny, Greg, I will tell you this, look, we're going to get to 4,000 transactions this year, 650 agents, all in. We're talking about an organization with staff and everybody of 700. We just hired our own in-house attorney, started with us today. We're going to be bringing on a chief operating officer here, very, very soon. I will tell you this, Greg, that for me personally, and at least for our company, that it's a battle for me. And I'll tell you why it's a battle for me, because I'm right at that phase where, realistically speaking, for us to get to the next level, it can't be just me anymore. And I explain to you what I mean by that. And I'm sure a lot of brokers out there that are leading, much bigger offices will understand. There's a book that I recommend everybody read. It's called Rocket Ship. Rocket Fuel. Yeah. And Rocket Fuel talks about the fact that within any great organization, there's two positions. There's the visionary and then there's the integrator. And I'm like 1,000,000% visionary, right? And I'm realizing now that in order for us to get to 1,500 agents and 2,000 agents and really get to number one in the state of California, it's impossible. It can't be just me. And so I'm at a place in my life right now where we're really trying to find the balance between being here every single day like I always am, and yet at the same time, like, I sometimes need an office, which I don't have one right now, but I sometimes do, because there's conversations and interviews that need to be had that are really just, we're just at that place right now. So it's just interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I know, Matt, that we're probably, reaching that time. Is there anything else that we had, that we wanted to just get out of Danny? And Danny, I really appreciate you sharing. You're unbelievable in not only as a real estate, guru, but also as a good friend, and you've always been so kind to share, as I have been with you. But, final thoughts or anything that we can leave with them, Danny, that you just feel like the real estate population needs to know right now?
Yeah, look, it's what they need to know, but it's another thing to actually do something about it. Number one, and I mean, I'm leading by example. You got to humble yourselves, guys. Problem in real estate is we make a lot of money per transaction, and we go out and close 15 or 20 of those, and we think we're God's gift to the universe. And when you put things into perspective, like, look, Greg, I'm constantly watching videos of billionaires. I'm constantly watching videos of people who own major corporations, and I'm studying what they're doing. And when you put things into perspective, and when I put things into perspective of where I am in my life right now, I'm nothing. I'm just a little flea on somebody's shoulder, And so advice number one to everybody would be to just humble yourselves a little bit and just be smart enough to know what you don't know, and be wise enough to go out and find the help that you need. Maybe you're blessed to have a Greg Harrelson in your area, or if you're not, then hook up with a coach. And number two, be careful who that coach is. Learn from my mistake, right? Learn from my mistake. I'll be honest, if it's not Mike Ferry, or one of us in his organization that has learned from that man directly, that teaches those principles, because that's important, you're wasting your money and your life. I really believe that. I really believe that. However, that's not a message people want to hear. But again, I think there's some validity behind that. Number 3, I would say that make sure you're working hard on a day-to-day basis to improve yourself and detach yourself from the outcome. Don't get so caught up in, it's kind of like you have to, but you don't. Don't get so caught up into the results so much as appreciate the journey. And people used to tell me that when I was younger, and I was like, yeah, whatever, right? I wasn't listening. And now that I'm a little bit older now and I've been around the block, I really do think, man, like when I look at some of our younger people, I just try to say, listen, it's going to be okay. Just appreciate the journey you're on right now, because you're learning the right way and you're putting in the work, and I'll leave everybody with this, last but not least, have a big vision and make sure that your priority is winning. Your priority must be winning. And winning through people. And what I mean by that is we have a very unique business in that you can genuinely win if you can just help enough people win. And again, here's what the ego will say. The ego will say, oh yeah, well, Danny, that's easy because, you have like 400 realtors. Okay, stop. I took that same approach as a real estate agent. I remember vividly going to a listing appointment and having 2 people about to divorce. And I would try my best to keep them together because it just aligned with who I want to be as a human being. Forget the money, forget the commission. All of that will come, and a lot of it will come, but you got to learn that you have to win through people. That's very, very important. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. We appreciate everybody. I
was going to say, you're not going to get much better than that out of just saying, hey, you got anything else that you want to share? Like, bam, 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 bam. Love it.
Yeah. I know Danny. I know he can, he probably does best when there's, when we're just having conversations, just speaking from the heart. So yeah. I think everyone just knows that that's exactly what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know there's a lot of people that were watching us here on Facebook Live, and there's some questions that we didn't get a chance to talk to or speak to. So I'd love to get Danny back on in the future to talk about, what are some of the top producers doing that are producing leads at a high level, and things like that. But we can talk about that on another episode. But yeah, so let's put a nice bow on this one, wrap this up, guys. So Danny, where do people go to connect with you, learn more about you, listen to your podcast, and kind of get into your world?
Yeah, so on Instagram, Danny Morel, DANNYMOREL. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/danny.morel.page. But the big thing is this, guys. We're hosting an event. It's the second time we do this. The event is named Relentless. Greg is going to be there. I'm going to be there. There's going to be actually, Greg, quite a few of our friends are going to be there because it happens to be my 40th birthday the next day. So get ready for a great weekend. But we also went on and got Grant Cardone to come be the keynote speaker of that event. So I would highly recommend that you guys join us for that. Because if you can tell, there's one thing about what Greg and I try to do is we just try to be as genuinely candid as we can be. No sales pitch, no nothing. We're just here trying to help people. Magnify that times 10. That's what Relentless is going to be about. You're going to get the real raw results from people that are actually in the game and succeeding at a pretty decent level. So I would recommend everybody go to that, relentlessevent.com.
Very cool.
So is that at relentlessevent.com?
Mm-hmm. Yep, relentlessevent.com.
Fantastic. And for anybody that does go, and I can promise you one thing, I will deliver as much value as I can for you, Danny, on that panel. So I'm going to bring it myself. There's no doubt about it, because I'm in it to win it, and I got to damn do better than Grant Cardone is going to do. I don't know that I will, but I'm going for it.
Hey, I'll tell you what. That's my goal.
There you go.
I tell all the people, I say, Grant Cardone, just watch what I bring. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you have to think. You got to be in it to win it. Absolutely.
Good.
Awesome. And then for us, Greg, just wanted to point out for everybody that we have a free video training on getting started with marketing automation. The easiest way to get that is to subscribe to the show. Go to theleveluppodcast.com/free, or you can click on the link on that page as well. You can get that. Greg, you and I sat down for about 20-25 minutes and went through the top myths and misconceptions about marketing automation, how to get started, some of the first steps to take. So everything that you need to know to get started in that world in terms of identifying the best leads so that you can have a higher percentage of call to appointment and appointment to close deal ratios. So that's all on there. And subscribe to the show on iTunes and Stitcher. And with that said, guys, thank you so much, Danny. Thank you. And Greg, appreciate all of your time and everybody for being with us on Facebook Live here today. Guys, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.